Hi, my name is Alicia and I'm 28 years old. I got married to my husband James only a year and a half ago, but boy has that time been full of hurdles for me. Not because of my husband, but because of my husband's sister-in-law. Let me start right from the beginning. I met James a few months after I graduated from college. He happened to be my friend's co-worker and she introduced me to him. At first, we remained only friends, and then after a few months of knowing each other as acquaintances, we began to properly talk to each other and get to know one another. It turned out that we were more similar than I thought, and we had the same sense of humor. Of course, I began to develop feelings for him, and he felt the same way for me. We dated for 5 years before we got married, and the day we got married was truly the happiest day of my life. We had all our closest family and friends at our small wedding, and we had a blast. The only issue was, of course, my husband's sister-in-law, Tessa. Tessa was my husband's older brother's, Mark's, wife. The two of them had been together since high school, and while I'd normally gush about how adorable it was that they were together for so long, I couldn't because Tessa was always trying to humiliate me in some way or another. I don't know what Tessa had against me, but ever since James introduced me to his family, she hated me. One thing about James's family is that they're very tight-knit. James only has his mother and his brother, and they're very close. I'm talking meet every week kind of close. Naturally, being with them meant having a good rapport with their mother, Lydia. Lydia and I had a pretty cordial relationship. I mean, she was nice to me and I was nice to her, but we were never actually close. Lydia and Tessa, however, were really close because Lydia's known Tessa since Tessa was a teenager. I wasn't jealous of that because I knew that Lydia liked me enough, but I did want to grow a better bond with her, especially after I got engaged to James. Up until my engagement with James, Tessa barely paid me any mind. She usually ignored me or just snickered at my expense whenever she could. After that, though, she began to embarrass me whenever she could, but only whenever Lydia was around. When Lydia was not around, she went back to ignoring me. I still remember the first time that she tried to humiliate me in front of Lydia. Lydia had invited the four of us to lunch at her place one weekend, and while we were there, Lydia couldn't stop excitedly talking about how she'd gotten into gardening. She told us that her flowers had just bloomed and that she was really proud that her efforts paid off. A little after that conversation, I happened to walk into the yard for something when I spotted Tessa standing on Lydia's flower bed. I was alarmed, so I ran to her and asked her what she was doing. "What are you doing? Why are you stepping on those flowers?" "Oh, Lydia told me that she wanted them gone because they weren't what she wanted." But she was just talking about, "Come on, help me out a little." No thanks. "Come on, stop grabbing me." "Hold on, let me just step out for a second and..." "Lydia, oh my God, come look at what Alicia's doing." "What are you doing?" "Alicia's ruining your garden. Why would you do this?" "What's the commotion?" "Oh my God, Alicia, what's going on here?" "I didn't. She tried to get me to trample your pretty flowers, but I hopped out." "Why would you do this, Alicia?" "I swear I didn't. Tessa was the one who pulled me in here." "Wow, and you're lying too. Do you have no shame at all? You've ruined all of Lydia's hard work and now you're trying to pin the blame on someone else. You know very well that's not what happened. Stop lying. What's going on?" "Oh my gosh, darling, what have you done?" "I didn't do anything." She did. She wanted to make a better impression on Lydia, so she tried to get me in trouble to boost her image in Lydia's eyes. That's crazy. Why would I want to do that? Okay, that's enough. Why don't you just go in and wash your shoes? I need some space right now. Mom, I'm so sorry about... It's okay. I'll be in my room. Why did you do that, Tessa? Do what? Are you seriously still keeping the act up? You were the one that shoved me into this flower bed. I just did what I had to do. Wait, so you really did trick Alicia and made her take the fall? What is wrong with you? Why would you hurt my mother also? You know very well why I did that. No, I actually don't. Then you're dumber than I thought. Watch your back, Alicia. I'm not losing to you. I couldn't believe that Tessa had pinned the blame on me when I did nothing. I asked James if he had any idea why she said that, and even James had no clue. I felt horrible when I thought of Lydia's face as she saw her flowers all crumpled. So even though I didn't ruin her flowers, I apologized to her. Lydia seemed a little distant, but I offered to help her replant the flowers, and she accepted my offer. Thankfully, that didn't ruin my relationship with her, but that didn't stop Tessa from trying to ruin it. James and I were engaged for a year, and during that year, Tessa did everything she could to ruin my reputation in front of Lydia. She destroyed a lot of Lydia's things along with James and Mark's, hers, and even mine, just so she could pin the blame on me when Lydia walked into the room. There were times when Lydia would actually cry because Tessa had destroyed something important to her, or something that she put a lot of hard work into, and it would anger me to no extent. James and I spoke to Mark about it because Tessa would ignore both of us and would run away every time we tried to talk to her. Mark initially did not believe me, but when both James and I gave him as much information as we could and insisted that we were telling the truth, Mark was just as baffled as us about Tessa's behavior. He also tried to talk to Tessa, but she told him to stay out of it because her feud with me did not involve him. Mark managed to tell her to stop breaking his mom's things, and she listened to that. But that only meant that she was out to destroy everything that was mine or things that I worked hard on. Even at my wedding, she spilled wine on my dress. Thankfully, James and I had a very non-traditional wedding and I wasn't wearing white, and the wine she spilled on me was white. She then tried to tell Lydia how clumsy I was and how I ruined my expensive dress because of it. I should mention that every time Tessa tried to humiliate me and draw Lydia's attention to it, Lydia would look very uncomfortable. I could tell that she did not know why Tessa was trying so hard to make me look bad. The only reason I did not throw Tessa out of my wedding was because she was a part of my family now, and it would not be a nice thing to do. Anyway, a few months after James and I got married, Lydia was out of town, so we met up with Mark and Tessa. The four of us shared some drinks and we were feeling good, and Tessa was still making snide remarks at me, but I was feeling too good to care about it. Eventually, though, I don't remember how, but we got to talking about wacky family traditions. Our family has some wacky traditions too. Oh, really? How could it possibly be wackier than my family passing on an heirloom of my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather in a bath with a duck? Okay, ours is not silly as much as destructive. Does she really have to know this, guys? Know what? What's the tradition? Basically, my great-great-grandmother bought this brooch way back in the day. It was from Tiffany's. Anyway, it's been passed down the generations. How is that destructive or wacky? James is leaving out the most important part. The brooch has only been handed to the daughter-in-law and son-in-law to signify that they are officially a part of the family. Oh, wow. I see how that could cause some fights. Believe me, darling, my mom and my aunt fought like crazy to get my Nana to give them that brooch. Oh yeah, the holidays were especially fun because we got to see two full-grown women bickering and fighting like kids. Yeah, but what is your mom going to do about the brooch now? Has she decided who she's giving it to? Because I bet it's going to be me, considering she's known me forever. Sorry, Alicia, no offense. None taken. I don't think that the brooch is a good measure of my relationship with this family. As long as I get to spend time with you guys, the brooch can go to whoever Lydia wants it to go to. Oh, don't act like you don't want it. I'm not. I really don't care for it. Well, even if Alicia wanted it, she would not get it. I knew it. Ha! I'm going to keep that thing so safe. And you're not getting it either. What? Why? Mom didn't want our wives to fight the way that she and my aunt did, so she decided to put an end to the tradition. I mean, thank God, because I don't think I'd be able to deal with those kinds of fights as an adult. But your mom could change her mind, right? Sure, but Mom's usually very stubborn, and when she makes a decision, she sticks to it, unless something big happens and forces her to change it. Wow. Okay, guess that's a challenge for us, Alicia. I'm not taking that as a challenge. I don't care about it. I just told you that. We'll see what your attitude is when the time comes. Mark changed the subject quickly after that because he sensed the tension growing in the room, and James and Tessa joined him too. But I couldn't stop thinking about the brooch and the tradition regarding it, and then it clicked in my head. Tessa was treating me badly because she wanted the heirloom. It was a hunch, but it was the best hunch I had. That would explain why she only humiliated me when Lydia was around. I couldn't understand why she needed the brooch to prove her place in the family when she and Lydia already had a much better and closer relationship than I did with Lydia. I couldn't think of an argument to answer that question, but I was sure that Tessa treated me that way because of that tradition. I shared that idea with James a few days later, and he too agreed that it was the best possible explanation. Since we didn't know why she would want the heirloom, we decided against telling Mark about it. We didn't want to start anything without having any solid proof. Dealing with Tessa's humiliation got slightly better, I guess because I was able to place why she was doing it. I knew that Tessa figured out that I had a hunch about why she was treating me that way because she began treating me even worse. My breaking point finally came on Lydia's 55th birthday. Lydia had invited us to her place for dinner since it was her birthday. I didn't want her to cook, so I offered to do the cooking. Luckily, Lydia's birthday fell on the weekend, so James and I went over to her place early in the morning so I could start preparing the meal. I had a huge meal planned in honor of Lydia, and I was very excited to have everyone eat it. I labored for hours in that kitchen while Lydia and James spent the day shopping and at the movies, an idea I suggested. When evening came, Mark and Tessa came over. I did my best to stay near my food at all times because I did not want Tessa to ruin all my hours of hard work. There was only one time when I left the kitchen, and that was only because I needed to use the washroom. I only left the kitchen after double-checking that Tessa was occupied in conversation with everyone else. When I got back to the kitchen, my heart dropped when I saw Tessa standing there, tasting my food. She told me she was just checking it to make sure it tasted nice, and before I could taste it to make sure she hadn't tampered with it, she called everyone in to have dinner. James was the first to notice something was off with the food. Sweetie, what did you put in this food? Spices and veggies? Yes, but why is it so bitter and salty? It is? Oh my God, I swear it wasn't supposed to taste like that. What happened? Surprise, surprise, Alicia messed up Lydia's birthday dinner. Do you have any shame? This is why I said I'd take care of the cooking. I had been constantly taste testing the food. It didn't taste like this at all the entire time. It's okay, sweetie. We'll just order in. No, it's not okay. Alicia has been constantly messing up and she needs to be put in her place for it. Oh, come on now. What do you want me to do? Put her in time out? Please, she's a grown woman, and this was an honest mistake. I swear it was all perfect. You'll do anything but accept the fact that you've ruined Lydia's dinner, won't you? Where's your respect for Lydia? She's done nothing but be kind and understanding towards you, especially when all you've done is ruin her things. I have never once ruined her things, and you know it. You were the one who ruined them and blamed it on me. There, I said it. Wow, you're even more pathetic than I thought. You can't even own up to your mistakes, so you tried to blame them on me. Wait a minute. I had not left the stove for hours when I was cooking. And everything was fine until I left it for 2 minutes to use the bathroom before I served the food. Did you tamper with the food, Tessa? Because when I came back from the washroom, you were in the kitchen and you told me you were tasting the food to make sure Lydia would like it. Do you honestly think that I'd want to ruin Lydia's dinner? Unlike you, I actually care for and love her. Why can't you just admit that you don't like her? You've done everything but that. Anyway, girls, that's enough. I'm tired of this. Give me a minute. I'll be right back. Alicia, darling, I think we should go cool down a bit. Mark, talk to Tessa. And Tessa, you are not allowed to speak to Alicia that way. You're just upset I'm telling the truth. James pulled me away from the dining room because I was so mad that I was crying. All my hours of hard work went down the drain. My present to Lydia was ruined. The last thing I wanted was for Lydia to eat takeout for dinner on her birthday. James did his best to calm me down, and after ranting a little bit and also crying some more, I felt a little better. Just then, Lydia came back downstairs and called us all to gather in the living room. Okay, I'm back now. Everybody, I want you to sit down. What's that in your hands? I've noticed that the feuds between Tessa and Alicia are because of this brooch. Lydia, I can't promise you that I don't care about that brooch at all. Yeah, right, as if you don't want to get your hands on that exquisite and expensive jewelry piece. I'm not the same as you, Tessa. Right. So since you guys think that you'll be accepted into the family based on who I give this heirloom to, I have made my decision about it. What? You told Mark and me that you were ending this tradition because you thought it promoted fights within the family. Yeah, I had hoped to do that, but apparently I can't do that. I can't bear to listen to Tessa and Alicia fighting all the time, so I've made up my mind to give it away. It's my birthday, and I guess now's the perfect time to give it away. All right, then, who is it? Who are you truly accepting as part of the family? I've chosen to give this heirloom to Alicia. What? Why? She's done nothing but mess things up and ruin all our family gatherings. Has she really been doing that, Tessa? What? What do you mean? I saw you tamper with the food today, and I've noticed you doing everything you possibly can to ruin our time together, just so you can pin the blame on Alicia. I haven't said anything about it because I didn't want to embarrass you or make things worse. Well, it's not my fault. You pitted us against each other by bringing that expensive brooch in between us. I told both my sons that it wouldn't be going to either of you from the start. I planned on having both my sons share it. So tell us why you want the brooch so bad. I just want to be accepted into this family. Is that such a bad thing? Ever since Alicia came into our lives, everyone was constantly praising her for everything she did. I thought that if I had the family heirloom, I could at least know that my position in the family was secure. And you thought bullying Alicia to get the heirloom was the right way to go about it instead of just being a better person? Tessa, I've known you since you were in high school. I'm so much closer to you than I am to Alicia, so I know that you have no reason to be jealous of her. Tell us the real reason why you want the heirloom. There is no... Don't try to lie to me. You've made Alicia's life a nightmare over a brooch for the last few years, and I think she deserves at least some explanation for it. You wanted the brooch for something else, and I need to know why, too. Fine. I'm in deep debt, okay? What? I'd hoped to get the brooch so I could sell it and settle the debt. You planned on selling our family heirloom? How are you in debt? I started gambling and I guess things got out of hand. You guess? How long have you been hiding this from me? None of that matters. What matters is that this is all Alicia's fault. How is this my fault? I don't want to see your face right now. I'm going home. Tessa stormed out of the house and left all of us confused. Mark looked ashamed and apologized to all of us for Tessa's behavior. I couldn't believe that my hunch about why she hated me was right. More importantly, I couldn't believe that she destroyed so many things all because she wanted to get her hands on something that would help her clear her debts. She was beyond disrespectful to everyone, and she severely miscalculated the emotional value behind the family heirloom. After Mark left, Lydia, James, and I talked about what had happened. Lydia told me that she was sorry I suffered so much because of Tessa. She had an inkling that Tessa was the one damaging things, but she had no way to prove it, so she felt too uncomfortable to say anything. But seeing Tessa tamper with my food on her birthday made Lydia really angry and upset. She'd reached her breaking point. She'd put up with so much of Tessa's behavior for so long, but she was done after what she saw. She also had a hunch that Tessa was only doing all of that for the family heirloom, so she took a risk by bringing that into the conversation. I was so glad that Lydia had known what was going on and had acted in my favor. I didn't know how much longer I would have been able to put up with Tessa's behavior after that, and I knew that if I snapped, Tessa would have suffered a lot more than just humiliation. Lydia told me that day that she really did want me to have the brooch, but I told her that I was serious when I said that I didn't care much for it. So I told her to keep it and do whatever she wanted with it. Lydia seemed really happy with that. James and I didn't hear much from Mark after that day. For a good 2 weeks, we checked in on him to make sure that he was okay, but we couldn't get any information out of him. One day, though, he did tell us that Tessa's gambling debt was a lot more than he'd expected, and that he was terrified for her because he had no idea how she planned on paying that off when she didn't make enough money to even survive a month. James and I were really worried for him, but other than offering him our support, there wasn't much else we could do for him. Then, after those 2 weeks, Tessa showed up at my door. I was home alone, so I cautiously opened the door and greeted her. Oh, hi, Tessa. What are you doing here? Are you happy now? What? You finally ruined my life. Are you happy? You get to be a part of this blasted family, and you get to be everyone's favorite. What happened? Why are you yelling at me? Mark has asked me for a divorce. I'm in severe debt, and it's all your fault. Excuse me? How is this my fault exactly? Why did you have to enter our family? Why did you have to try to be so good at everything? You ruined my life. First of all, I became part of this family because I love James. Secondly, you were the one who got insecure about your place in the family. I was just doing my own thing. I barely even batted an eye at you. You were the one who was adamant about making me look like a bad person. Don't act as if you didn't want the family heirloom. I saw it in your eyes the second you found out about the heirloom. I did not and still do not care about the heirloom. I'd much rather have a proper bond with my family than a fake one in order to get some jewelry. Stop acting like you're some saint. I know you cared about that heirloom as much as I did. I did not. But even if I did, I would never have put you down to get that brooch. I would have wanted to earn it because of who I actually was and not because I had to put someone down to look better. You always thought that you were better than me, but let me tell you, you're not. You're just a selfish freak who weaseled her way into the family because you knew about the price of that heirloom and you just wanted to get your grubby hands on it. Stop projecting your thoughts onto me. I didn't even find out about the heirloom until after I married James. You were the one who knew of it from the start. That may have been your mentality, but it definitely wasn't mine. And for the record, I have never thought that I was better than you. I admired you, but you've done enough to show me that there's nothing about you to admire. Whatever. I came here to tell you that you need to pay me back. Give me that brooch. I put up with this insufferable family for years, and I will not leave until I get that brooch. You came to the wrong place then. I gave it back to Lydia, so go ask her for it. I'm sure she'd appreciate you calling her insufferable. Why do you always have to ruin my life? Do you know why I started gambling in the first place? Because you made me so stressed out, and it was the only way I could cope. And now Mark doesn't want me because of how much debt I've racked up, which is all your fault. He doesn't want to hear my reasoning at all. You have to make this right and get me the brooch. You've got some problems in your head if you genuinely think that your reasons are valid. Take this time away from this family to actually reflect on what you just said, because you sound insane. I'm not doing anything for you. I don't want to have anything to do with you either. I only put up with you because you were Mark's wife, and now that you're not, I don't want to see you. Bye. I was appalled by the audacity that Tessa had to demand that I get her that brooch. I couldn't believe that she still didn't see how wrong she was for thinking that way. I wondered how long she knew about the family tradition, and apparently she'd known about it since she and Mark had met, which means that she had probably only been with him because she knew the value of that brooch. Needless to say, Mark was pretty distraught after his marriage ended. I felt really bad for him, so James and I made sure to check in on him every day. We tried to spend as much time as we could with him so he would feel less alone. Tessa did not make the divorce easy for Mark. She kept fighting over every little thing and drawing the process out unnecessarily. It was a good thing they never had kids, because she would have made it horrifying for Mark. Mark heard through some mutual friends and Tessa's family that Tessa was not doing so well anymore. She'd been struggling financially, and she had to pick up another job to make ends meet. Her family refused to take her in because they did not want to enable her gambling habit. It turns out that she's had the habit for a while and somehow managed to keep it a secret from everyone. As for Lydia and I, our relationship is doing great. All my anxiety about her not liking me was proven wrong. She told me that she'd like me way better than Tessa to begin with. I apologized for all the times that Tessa made me look like the bad guy by ruining some of Lydia's things, and Lydia was very kind and understanding about it. She assured me that I had nothing to apologize for, especially because I had nothing to do with it in the first place. It's been a few months since Mark and Tessa split, and we guess in another month or so their divorce will be finalized. In the meantime, we've taken to having a few more family gatherings than usual, and Mark is finally beginning to smile again. I have to say that not having Tessa at these gatherings has made them a lot more enjoyable for me. I never realized how anxious she made me about these gatherings until she was gone, and now I'm glad she's not here, and she never will be again. As for the brooch, it's tucked away safely in Lydia's care, and it'll be given to the boys whenever she passes. I feel like that's the best course of action, and I wouldn't have it any other way.